Hello everyone, it's Jen. I'm so excited to be participating in Tracy McNeely's 25 Days of Christmas Tags. Today's Heffy Doodle Day, but you can see all the amazing companies that will be spotlighting Christmas tags or holiday tags or even everyday general tags for the 25 Days of Christmas tag. So here's a look at the tag that I made today. I'm using the Lil Lighthouse stamp set. Now this was a free stamp with the pre-order with the most recent release. It will be available for purchase with the next Heffy Doodle release. I'm using the little rock bed there from the Otter side, and then I'm using the To and From Interactively Yours, which is a really fun stamp set. So to get started, I'm using some alcohol marker friendly cardstock. This is new to the Heffy Doodle shop as part of their essential collection. So there's new essential tools and papers and cardstocks. There's a mini die cutting machine and lots of fun goodies. So make sure to head on over to the Heffy Doodle shop to check that out. And I will leave the links as always down below for everything that I'm using in the video today. So stamping out my Lil Lighthouse here, I'm also going to stamp it on some masking paper. I'm using Gina K Masking Magic paper today. Absolutely love this stuff. So one of the things that I love about this cardstock is, as you can see, it fits perfectly in the regular size Misti, so you don't have to do any cutting down. Now, if you have the mini Misti, all you have to do is cut this piece of paper in half and it fits perfectly. So super easy cardstock to use with all of your alcohol markers. And it's a beautiful, brilliant white color, which I absolutely love. So now that I've done the stamping of my lighthouse and covered it with my mask, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the little rock. I'm calling it a rock bed, but the rocks on top of my image there. Now, whenever you do masking, you just want to make sure that that image you want to the front is the one that you stamp first. You can see the bottom of the lighthouse there is positioned nicely on top of those rocks. So I'm just going to trim up my lighthouse here, and then we can jump into the coloring. First though, I wanted to make this a little bit more Christmassy, so I'm going to go ahead and draw some strings of Christmas lights. So I'm just zigzagging some lines here. Now, I'm not really that great at drawing, so I'm just having fun with this. I'm not worried about whether my Christmas light bulbs here are the same size. I'm just drawing them in randomly. It will give me the look of Christmas lights even if they're not perfectly matched. So I'm just kind of going down the lighthouse here. I am using an alcohol friendly marker here. So if you're doing alcohol ink or marker coloring, you just want to make sure that whatever marker you're using will not smudge. So for the red, I wanted a more kind of dark red. I'm creating a night scene for my Christmas lighthouse. So I decided to do this kind of dark cranberry, and I used R89 as my darkest, R39 as my midtone, and then R29 as the lightest. So just adding the red to the top of the lighthouse and then underneath the light here, and then every second of the areas there on the lighthouse. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed that I accidentally went into that one white area. So once I have this colored in with the red, I am going to try to fix this. So I brought in my white gel pen just because I thought with the colorless blender, it just might make more of a mess than what had already kind of been put on that white area. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I was just getting lost in the coloring and not paying attention to the fact that I wasn't coloring the entire lighthouse in red. So here's where I'm going to try to fix that up, and then I'm going to let that dry. I wasn't sure if this was going to work, and spoiler alert, it didn't work very well. So I would say try to use your colorless blender and then maybe use the white gel pen afterwards. So So you can see there for the light I used Y02 and Y00, and I did leave a little bit of white in the center of the light just to really give it a really prominent highlight. Now for the Christmas lights, I'm using YG17, V04, BG45, and R29. So I'm just coloring those up, trying to space them out evenly as I go down the lights on the lighthouse. And really that red you can't really see, but I did want to have that traditional red in there on my Christmas lights. So here's where I added some of my C3 marker and it smudged into the red again, so making more of a mess. So just to clean up the tip of my marker, I just scribbled that onto some of that white cardstock to get that off of the C3 or the tip of my marker, and I'm just going to keep going at this point. So for the white, I'm using C3, C1, and then the colorless blender. Now for the rocks, I wanted them to be more of a gray than a white, so I filled in that space more thoroughly than I did for the white areas on the lighthouse. But after looking at it, I felt like I didn't have a dark enough shadow. So I decided to bring in the C5 marker here, and you'll see once I lay this down and blend that back out with the C3 and then the C1 again, that it really gives me a beautiful contrast, and I'm much happier with that look. And once I had that deep contrast on the rocks, I decided to add a little bit of that C5 to the left-hand side of the door for the lighthouse. And again, that just really darkens it up nicely and gives a great shadow with the highlight to the right-hand side. So here's where I'm still going to attempt to fix that area of the lighthouse. It's really not that noticeable. There's a lot going on this little tag, so you don't notice the imperfection. So that white gel pen is a savior for so many reasons, but definitely with red ink. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim out my lighthouse here. There are coordinating dies for the lighthouse, but because I stamped it onto the rocks, I couldn't use it. But really simple to cut out, and I left a little bit of a white border. So now I'm going to work on the background of my tag. I'm using 3 Distress Oxide colors. The lightest is the Speckled Egg, and then Faded Jeans in the middle, and then on the top area I'm using the chip Sapphire. Now the Speckled Egg I didn't really need to do at this point. I hadn't decided that I was going to add some water behind my lighthouse. I thought maybe I would just have it kind of looking like the sky was behind it. But as you may have noticed from the pictures of my tag, I did add some water with cardstock. So if you're going to do a similar tag, or even if you wanted to make this into a card, you can go ahead and skip that 3-color blend, and I would just do the Faded Jeans and the chip Sapphire. So I want to make it look like it's a snowy night, so I'm using some white gouache here and just adding a little bit of water to it. I just cupped my hands when I was spraying that water, so I didn't get any water on my tag, as the Distress Oxide inks are water reactive. So I'm using a flat paintbrush. I find that I get a better splattering effect if I use a flat brush. This is just from a really affordable paintbrush set by Ranger. It's a 7-piece set for about $7, and I have linked that below. If you're looking for some affordable paintbrushes, I'd highly recommend them. So now that I have my snow done, I'm bringing in some of the cardstock. This is the Huckleberry color. It's one of the newest cardstock colors, and I think it might be my favorite. I absolutely love it. So I'm just using the base of the tag and the lighthouse itself to kind of guide how high I want this wave to be. And I cut that out with one of the really fun border dies. These are the Breaking Wave borders. And now I'm just playing with my position. I wanted to see what it would look like behind the water, but didn't like that and decided to go with my original idea of having the lighthouse down to the bottom of the card. So just using my everyday kind of stitched oval dies here for my tag. You don't need specific tag shaped dies to make tags. You can use circles or ovals or even stars or hearts, whatever you have. And even if you don't have dies, you can just hand cut whatever shape you want. So have fun with what you have already and make some tags. So now that I have this done, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment. So I'm using the You Light Up My Life stamp for the front of my card, and I'm just using some Versamark ink here and some white embossing powder. And you'll notice there that I used my powder tool just to make sure that none of this embossing powder stuck to the ink from my Distress Oxides. Now I did let that dry for a while, so it was fine at this point. But I am just going to heat that up, and then I have my sentiment complete, and I can add my lighthouse to the bottom of the tag. And I'm going to have it just a little bit over to the right there. The right hand side of those rocks will hang off the tag, but I'm not really worried about that. To create the hole, I'm just using a single hole punch. This is just one that I've had in my school supplies or my office supplies drawer forever, nothing fancy. I did go ahead and cut that out of the panel here for my tag, and then I decided to add the back layer. So I just cut a second piece of white cardstock with the oval die. I wanted it to be nice and crisp white on the back, and this will also weight it a little bit heavier. So for the back of my tag, I'm stamping out Merry Christmas. This is from the Classic Sentiments stamp set. So now that I have that stamped, I can go ahead and do my finishing touches. I'm adding some glitter shimmer with my Spectrum Noir glitter pen there to the lights on the lighthouse. And then I'm bringing in my white gel pen, but you can actually skip this step. If you have some of that gouache or paint, you can use acrylic paint, same type of thing. But if you keep a little bit of that to the side after speckling on your snow on the background, then that works easy, and you'll see I'm going to do that next. So as I'm kind of working with the gel pen, trying to lay down some snow on the lighthouse and on the rocks, I'm not really getting the effect that I want. So then I kind of remembered that I had that paint sitting to the side of me waiting to be cleaned up, and I was glad I hadn't done that yet. So I will bring that in, but first I am going to add some snowflakes with my gel pen just so it matches the back of the tag, that little snowy scene, because to make it a little bit more realistic, the snow would also be falling in front of the lighthouse. So you can see here with the paint, I'm getting a much better effect, and I'm a little bit far away. I should have kind of zoomed in a bit here so you could see better, but you will get a closer look at the tag here. But definitely the paint worked a lot better, especially on that red. So this is the next day, and I kind of mulled over my tag, realizing I needed the to and from. So I grabbed that from the Interactively Yours stamp set, and it actually, the font of this went perfect with the Merry Christmas font. And that white area of my tag was really bothering me. I just didn't get those ovals lined up perfectly. So I thought I would take some of that Faded Jean Distress Oxide and just add that to the side of my tag, and that cleaned it up perfectly. You can't even tell now looking at the tag that it was off just that little bit. So to finish off my card, I'm going to add some ribbon. This is just some kind of iridescent glittery ribbon that I've had from my stash. So I tied a loop around the hole for the top part of my ribbon here, and then I decided that I wanted to add a bow as well. I just thought it filled out the top of the tag nicely. So I'm just gonna play with doing that bow, I find it easier to do the 2 loops first and then tie your bow. I find I get a kind of more rounded, better looking bow that way, if that's a helpful tip for you. So here is my tag complete. Now you can tie the top of your ribbon if you want to be able to hang this. It could be used as an ornament after the tag has been given on the gift. But I hope that you check out the other projects from the 25 Days of Christmas tags. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a fabulous day, everyone, and I'll see you really soon. Bye!